Al Jazeera Arabic television, whose audience mainly consists of Sunni Muslims living in the Arab world, found that 81% of respondents supported ISIS. Are we still going to pretend that this is just a tiny minority? A poll by the Arab Center for Research and Policy Studies found that even 13% of Syrian refugees who were supposedly fleeing from ISIS had a positive view of ISIS. And hundreds of thousands of them are pouring into the West, including some of the terrorists involved in the Paris massacre. Let's look at some more polls. The vast majority of Muslims in Africa, the Middle East, Southeast Asia and South Asia support making Sharia law the law of the land. The clear majority of Muslims in South Asia and the Middle East support stoning women to death for the crime of adultery. Similar numbers support the death penalty for people who abandon the Muslim faith. A clear majority of Muslims support these violent and intolerant beliefs. How in any way is that moderate? Even in America, nearly a quarter of Muslims believe that violence is a legitimate response against those who offend Islam or portray the Prophet Muhammad. Is that a tiny minority of radicals? A BBC survey found that over a quarter of British Muslims had sympathy for the Charlie Hebdo jihadists. There are twice as many British Muslims fighting for ISIS than there are fighting for the British Army. And where are the voices of moderate Islam? Where are the protests against ISIS by thousands of moderate Muslims? After the Charlie Hebdo attack, we did see thousands of Pakistani Muslims take to the streets to protest against Charlie Hebdo and in support of the jihadists who slaughtered the cartoonists. Now watch this clip, where self-proclaimed moderate Muslims vehemently agree with the most violent and intolerant parts of the Quran.
Everyone in the room, how many of you are normal Muslims? You're not extremists, you're not radical, just normal Sunni Muslims. Please raise your hands. Everybody, mashallah, subhanallah. Okay, take down your hands again. How many of you agree that men and women should sit separate? Please raise your hands. Everyone agree. Everyone agree. Brothers and sisters. Subhanallah. So it's not just these radical sheikhs then. Allahu Akbar. Next question. How many of you agree that the punishments described in the Quran and the Sunnah, whether it is death, whether it is stoning for adultery, whatever it is, if it is from Allah and His Messenger, that is the best punishment ever possible for humankind, and that is what we should apply in the world. Who agrees with that? Allahu Akbar.
Stoning women for adultery, executing rape victims, homophobia, segregation, all beliefs held by people who describe themselves as moderate Muslims. And of course not every Muslim is going to strap on an AK-47 and gun down innocent people. But the notion of moderate Islam is a complete myth.